By the end of this video, you will know how to place accents on eo verbs in New Testament Greek. Hi, Rob McIver here. Let's see how to place accents on eo verbs in 3 easy steps. The first step is to place an acute accent on the uncontracted form of the verb. I thought we might use the second person singular and the first person plural of the verb laleo as our example. Now, how do we figure out where to put that acute accent? You no doubt remember the general rules of accents, and I have summarized them here. For the acute accent, if the last syllable is short, the acute accent can go on any of the last 3 syllables. If the last syllable is long, it can only go on the last 2 syllables. And as we're going to need to know it shortly, I have highlighted the fact that epsilon iota is a long diphthong, therefore any syllable it is found in is going to be a long syllable. Well, those are the general rules. Specifically with verbs, we put the accent as far to the left as is possible without contravening the general accents. So, what does this mean with regard to laleo? Well, with laleis, the ice must be a long syllable. You remember epsilon iota makes a long diphthong, therefore ice is a long syllable. With a verb, the accent goes as far as possible from the end of the word. If the last syllable is long, the furthest away we can put it is the second to last syllable, and so it goes on the epsilon of lale, ice. With the first person plural, the last syllable is short because epsilon is always short. Therefore, the accent can go on the third to last syllable of the word, which is what it wants to do. If it's a verb, go as far from the end as it's possible. So, even though the accent is still on the e of lale, it does so because it's the third to last syllable, with the last syllable being short. The second step is to place a grave accent on all the other vowels in the word. Now, I've heard it explained this way. With Greek, every syllable is pronounced to a certain extent. Therefore, one can consider it to have a grave accent. So here is the grave accents added to all of the other vowels on laleis and laleomen. In the third step, we examine the place where the verb stem meets the verb ending and look at the pattern of the accents. For example, in laleis, we have an acute accent on the epsilon and a grave accent on the epsilon iota. So that is acute followed by grave. With laleomen, we have an acute accent on the epsilon followed by a grave accent on the omicron. Again, an acute followed by a grave. And the rule is, if there is an acute followed by the grave, then a circumflex is used and the 2 vowels are contracted according to the usual pattern of contraction. Not all of the acute accents are followed by a grave. I have here the example of laleomain. Now, for most of you, you won't have seen this form of the verb, but it will be coming up. And I have, as required, placed an acute accent where it can go, which is on the second to last syllable, the last syllable being long, eta is long. And I put a grave accent on all the other accents. And you can see where the verb stem finishes, where the epsilon, it has a grave accent, and where the verb ending begins, it has an acute accent. So the pattern is grave, acute. And the rule in this case is that an acute accent is used and the 2 vowels are contracted as per the usual rules. Now let's see what this means in terms of laleo. In this left-hand column, you can see that the form of laleo is written out in its uncontracted form and the acute accent has been added. It just so happens that the rules, when they are applied, mean that the acute accent is staying on the epsilon. But sometimes it's the second from the end when the last syllable is long, and sometimes it's third from the end when the last syllable is short. And the resultant you will see is where the verb stem meets the verb ending, it is always acute followed by grave. And so the result is a circumflex accent in every case. Now you may think, well, why go to all this effort? Because we know it's going to be a circumflex. Remember the other example we gave, sometimes it goes grave acute between the verb stem and the verb ending. So that's how we work out where to place an accent on a EO verb and what kind of accent it should be. And we can do it in 3 and a bit relatively straightforward steps. If you would like practice in putting accents on EO verbs, you might like to try the exercise found in Chapter 7 of my book, Beginning New Testament Greek Made Easier. This video itself is one of several videos that I've produced on the Greek of the New Testament. Other videos include accents on verbs in general, accents on nouns. You can most easily find these videos by subscribing to my YouTube channel, NT Greek Made Easier, or by following me on x.com at robmciver2024. And hey, if you found this video helpful, why not let me know by clicking on the like button below or by clicking on the heart icon. Thank you.